Good afternoon. It's just introduce yourself for the record. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair Holvey and members of the committee. I'm Ann Leininger, representing Lake Oswego and Southwest Portland as a representative for House District 38. I'm pleased to be here today with colleagues to introduce to you House Bill 2005. We will be followed up by a panel of experts who can address some of your more specific questions, but we wanted to frame the issue. I would like to frame the issue by noting that pay discrimination is still a real problem. And here are a couple examples. The U.S. women's national soccer team. The women's national soccer team brought in more revenue and won more games than the men's team in 2015, but they were paid substantially less. The women were also given a smaller per diem and sponsor appearances. Silicon Valley. In 2015, men with a degree in Silicon Valley earned between 52% and 61% more than women with the same level of education. Journalists at the Wall Street Journal, Barron's, and MarketWatch. At the end of 2015, men earned 13.5% more than women at the same level. It's still a live issue, and what this bill that we are bringing for your consideration today seeks to do is strengthen protections to prevent pay discrimination and also crucially clarify rules. Because as you'll hear from one of our employer presenters, knowing what the rules are is actually a really important step in helping both employers and employees avoid running afoul of pay, equal pay, fair pay laws. So final thing I would note is that there are a couple of amendments not before you today, but that we intend to bring to you that would include disability status as one of the protected class statuses regarding which pay discrimination and these protections apply. The protections in this bill apply already. There are protections against discriminating against people with disabilities, and then also actual or perceived gender identity. That is currently contained within sexual orientation by law, but because one of the things that we value is calling out the dignity and entitlement to fairness of all people, we think it would be appropriate to consider specifically naming actual or perceived gender identity as bases for protection under this bill. And with that, I'm honored to turn over the mic to my colleague and Majority Leader, Representative Williamson.
Good afternoon, Chair Holvey, members of the committee. My name is Jennifer Williamson. I'm the state representative for House District 36. And today I'm testifying on this bill on behalf of an inspiring Oregonian who cannot be here in person today. Becky Sauerbrunn is the co-captain of the U.S. national women's soccer team. She's an Olympic gold medalist, a women's World Cup champion, captain of the FC Kansas City, and I'm proud to say she's my constituent. One of the best defensive players in the world. She's represented the United States at 2 FIFA Women's World Cup and 2 Summer Olympics. Becky has won 2 National Women's Soccer League championships and was awarded Defender of the Year for 3 consecutive seasons. She's been honored by President Obama at the White House, was part of the first women's sports team to be honored with a ticker tape parade and a key to the city of New York, and was among the first women players ever to be featured in a popular FIFA video game series. On top of all of these and other incredible achievements, Becky is an outspoken advocate for pay equity. She and 4 of her fellow national team members have been fighting in court against the brazen discrimination by U.S. Soccer, both in the area of compensation and in treatment. Despite her obligations in this ongoing dispute, her work with the U.S. national team, her regional team, Becky took the time to write a letter to this committee. She couldn't be here today because practice started last week, so she had to go. Dear Chair Holvey, I write to voice my strong support for House Bill 2005, which works to promote equal pay for equal work. This particular issue hits close to home for me as a player for the United States women's national soccer team. For the past several years, we've been engaged in a fight to ensure the kind of pay equity this bill would provide. In spite of our collective success as a team, including a World Cup win, a #1 FIFA ranking, and the profit we earn for U.S. soccer and the comparable work obligations, male players are compensated in a very different way and much more significantly. This is an issue not just about money either. It's about basic treatment of players compared to our male counterparts. From the type of field we play on to the way we travel, there are big differences between the genders in spite of our shared employer and our shared profession. Nationally, this type of gender discrimination we face is unfortunately normal. On the average, a woman is paid 79 cents for every dollar a man makes. When it comes to women of color, the inequity is even larger, and factors like education still do not level the playing field. While our fight for future generations of female soccer players go on, you have an opportunity in Oregon to ensure that working women do not face the type of inequity we do. Thank you for your consideration of this bill and for your work to ensure equal pay for equal work. Sincerely, Becky Sauerbrunn. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Good afternoon, Chair Holvey, members of the committee. My name is Janelle Bynum, and I represent House District 51. I'm a proud co-sponsor of House Bill 2005. I am trained as an electrical engineer, practiced at General Motors. I'm a franchisee, and I'm also the mother of 2 daughters and 2 sons. In my home, we teach our daughters that their work isn't worth any less than their brother's work, but I worry that this message will ring hollow when they enter the workforce to begin their careers. And so, as we heard a little bit before, the numbers really do speak for themselves. American women who work full-time year-round earn only 79 cents for every dollar that a man makes. For communities of color, the median hourly wage for African American and Latino men was $15 and $14 respectively, compared to $21 for white American men. For women, African American women and Latino women, they earn $13 an hour and $12 an hour, compared to their white counterparts at $17. So the income gap persists as well for those with a college degree. African American and Latino men and white women with a college degree earn only 80% of what college-educated white men make. So we need to address this issue. Our daughters need us to address this issue, and I'm here today in support of House Bill 2005. Thank you, Chair Holvey and members of the committee.
Yeah.
Rep Lively, do you want to come over here?
Chair Hovey, Vice Chairs, members of the committee, my name is John Lively. I'm State Representative from House District 12, which encompasses most of the great city of Springfield. I'm honored to be here with Representative Williamson, Representative Bynum, and Representative Leininger to support this bill. This is quite an interesting lineup when I sit here. You notice my hair is a little different color than some of those. For most of my working career, I've had the honor to be a manager where I worked, and I've managed companies from 5 employees to 600 employees. And so when I come at this, first I think about what my experience has been, and I've had the privilege of working in companies where this was never an issue. We had described jobs, we had salary ranges, and everything that was in place, even if I had 5 employees. And we always hired the people based on the person's qualifications, and they met the standards. Never once questioned what they made before or if there's anything that's involved with it. And so for me personally, I've worked in positions, but I understand even in all those years, and it's been over 45 years, that there was a lot of other companies and opportunities that were not the same. So that's part of what brings me to supporting this bill. One of the things that happened in my life, so I have 2 beautiful daughters who today are very successful. But as they were growing up and going into the workforce, they faced some challenges, just like many of them do today. My youngest daughter was training in a company to be a manager and had been there quite a while and was a vice manager and was ready for a promotion to be a manager of this particular operation. She met all the qualifications. She was senior from a standpoint of the time that she'd been in the position, and they had indicated to her that she would be the next person up. When it came to the position, my daughter was not promoted. She didn't get the raise or promoted, and it was indicated she did not get it because she was a young female about to be married and was of childbearing age. That disturbed me and my daughter significantly, and while there was a lot we could have done at that point to try to pursue the thing, it was clear in that day and age in the company that she was dealing with that it was going to be a long struggle. And she got on with her life, and thank goodness she's in employment today where that's not a factor, but that certainly happened. And that at that point really opened my eyes to what was going on. Recently I had a conversation with a good friend of mine who's a manager in the tech industry. And we were talking about this particular issue on the struggles that he faces with getting employees or not getting employees in the tech industry. And when I talked about one of the provisions that had to do with being able to ask about previous salary, what he indicated to me is if he wasn't able to ask about what the previous salary was, he would have no real way to determine what they should pay that person, i.e., could I pay him less than what the position requires? Because they happen to be making less. So that kind of was startling for me. Last week, I think it was Thursday, potentially, Celeste Edmond, who's CEO of Lunar Logic in Eugene, was in an interview on TV and KZI regarding pay equity issues. And I have a lot of respect for Celeste. She's very successful in the field. Technology is a very large growing segment down in Lane County, and there's over 5,000 employees. Celeste is one of only 2 female CEOs, though, in the industry, and she can tell from firsthand experience, even at her level, there's pay inequities. But what she talked about is what they do as a company is they do market research continually to keep their pay scales in that comparable. And what she said she finds in those each time is that the inequities, and especially with female workers, is 20% in many cases lower than what it is for a comparable male in those fields. And so from the standpoint of doing the search, and if it's African American women or women of other ethnicities, in many cases that spread is more. The good news from her standpoint is she lives in the state of Oregon, has a business in the state of Oregon, and views us as a progressive state. And so she has encouragement that we'll take actions and steps in order to keep moving towards closing that pay gap. So based on those reasons, I'm here to ask your support of House Bill 2005. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming off and kicking us off with this, with your testimony. It's, I think, helpful to get going.